Hello and welcome from Canada, Australia. My name is 𝗨𝗪𝗁𝗁, and wherever you're tuning in from, whatever part of the world, whatever time zone, welcome, welcome, welcome. We're having some crazy issues. Sarah, her camera actually worked this time. She's in a blackout and some kind of Bermuda Triangle for technology. So if her signal picks up, she's going to jump on and join us. I'm just really excited to have us, and I'm going to jump over onto our into our little video, and then we're going to bring in our guest. Welcome. As I endeavored to say before, my name is 𝗨𝗪𝗁𝗁. I am a life coach, author, and I think a human being extraordinaire, but that's only in my humble opinion. And I'd like to introduce my wonderful co-host, Sarah Wade, who's spent the last couple of weeks fighting COVID, and now the universe, God, whatever you choose to use, is giving her another kidney punch and has decided to keep her into a technology black hole. But we're super excited to have our guest today, Lorna Gale. Welcome, Lorna.
Thank you. Thank you. It's good to be here. So good to be back. Thank you. Thank you.
I think I could be mistaken, but I think you were the first time we've brought a guest back on.
Oh, really?
So you must have said something right.
Well, I know we certainly had a great conversation, and yeah, it was really, really great. And as Sarah said, it seemed like there was still things to talk about. So here we are, and yeah, looking forward to these conversations. And I think, you know, your theme of the uplift, that it's not only inspiring the things that you bring onto the show and the people you have, it's uplifting in an inspirational way, and also very transformational. So thank you for the work that you do, Sarah, and you do, Neil, in bringing this forward. It's just really a real blessing and a gift. Thank you.
So yeah, we don't know what kind of technology is going on. So Sarah is able to produce the show, but it's just speaking just throws it all out. So I guess she's just got to be our ears today. So we wanted to talk about, I was teasing in one of the Facebook feeds that what's the difference between semantics and somatic? And Sarah's like, there is a difference, Neil.
There you go. There you go.
So
yeah.
You do semantic. I'm almost going to add the N in there by accident. Now that I've said it, I've jinxed myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
You do somatic body work. What is that?
It's really a great question. And certainly somatic is a word that's being heard and used more frequently. All kinds of different trainings and perspectives. And basically what it comes down to, Neil, is that of the body. Just really tapping into the felt body, the senses, tapping into the wisdom of the body as well, and listening to the body, as opposed to it just being this mechanical thing that gets us where we want to go and digests our food and helps us have sex and the whole bit. So it's just really tapping into various different connections of it, and looking at that mind-body emotional connection as well.
So you're saying even a masculine unit like me, testosterone, that doesn't listen to anything, my body is still trying to tell me things?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes they're lessons of, or they're words of wisdom. Sometimes they are just expressions of love. Sometimes it's just things that bring us back into this present moment.
Well, I just finished a 50-kilometer bike ride a couple hours ago, and my body is bringing me back to this moment. There is no quick escapes.
There you go.
I love the feeling of my body, the repetitive motion of riding, and the wind in my hair, but it's like, it's had enough. And Sarah's got a question. She's like, and it's a beautiful question. So how do we enhance our mind-body connection?
It's a really great question, and it seems like there's some different approaches to it. From a somatic perspective, there's that aspect of one of the ways that I like to express it is when we come into this world as babies, we don't have language. We're just taking in the world through our senses. And little by little, it's kind of like, oh, hi, come to mommy. And, and little by little, or are you hungry? Are you tired? Are you chilly? Are you cold? And here's puppy, and here's a cup, and we start to label things. And so in that process, what ends up happening is we go from this felt experience where we're just perceiving and experience the world through the senses of this instrument, the body, to now the mind becomes a part of that thing. So we see something and it's that interpretation of, oh, that's what it is. A common thing that I like to say about is a giraffe. A giraffe is a giraffe, and actually, no, it's not. That's the name it's been given. And Shakespeare's famous quote, right? A rose by any other name would smell as sweet. Well, a rose without any name would smell as sweet. And so the somatic approach starts to take what we're feeling, whether it's an emotion, talking about pain, and it starts to, and in my work, that's just really core, is taking those words and letting them deliver us to what the body is saying and to the felt experience of the body.
Cool. So just as an aside, if any of our listeners, and if you're watching this later on YouTube or through our podcast, have a question, we'd love to hear from you. And where are you tuning in from? We've got some guests on here. Where's everybody showing up from? We'd love to know. Besides Sarah and somewhere in Perth, Australia, in her car.
Beautiful. She's here.
Yeah. I love I'm going to mess up the quote or the thing, that our experience shows up only through our language. And I'm trying to remember, it's like our construct of the word only comes through the experience of the words that we know and are able to express. And same with the community that surrounds us. Like, if it's bad to be a redhead or have green hair, everyone's green hair, then that's our experience of life. And many of us are taught not to, to experience the joys of what our body can do. Like, I just rode 50 kilometers, and yes, it's got some aches and pains, but I rode 50 freaking kilometers. My body is a wonderful machine.
It is.
It gets me there and through there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And,
yes.
And thank you. And part of the experience of life is food. So food is a very somatic experience. All the taste, the sensation.
That's true. That's true. And yes, very much so. And we really take that for granted so much of the time. And, when we look at how we're taught to, as a part of my midlife sexual awakening, I became aware of the different analogies and parallels between how we do food and how we do sex. And so a workshop was birthed from that. And in that whole thing, it's in the workshop that I take the people through, I prepare food for them. When I was doing it, in person, prepare a table of food for them, and then at the end of, we've gone through the whole workshop. It's called Sex Like Food. It's profound. It's really a way of really shifting some huge ways of how we understand sex and our perception of it, and the judgment of it as well. The good, bad, right, and wrong, and the various things. And so when we compare that to food, it really becomes this a whole different experience. And so at the end, one of the things that I've had people do is, I prepare salad and spaghetti and ribs and things like that. And, there's cutlery and chopsticks, various things like that. And to then, take that, and people, are eating their food, whatever the utensil is. Okay, now try choosing to eat it with, a utensil that you're not used to or that you don't prefer to. Okay, now put your utensils down and eat your with your fingers. And for some people, that love finger food, but one of the women there, was quite an elegant, regal, refined woman. She ate her salad, complete with its salad dressing and everything, all gooey, and with her fingers. She said, "This is the first time I've ever done it, and my salad has never tasted better." So that connection with our senses and really connecting to this body experience rather than disconnecting ourselves from it. So, yeah.
I love that analogy, because it's also how much time we put into it. If I'm really hungry, I'm not paying attention to food. It's like, and I suspect that the same analogy goes to with sex. If there's a strong urge to it, I'm not paying attention to the length of time and truly exploring all the delicacies of the dish that's offered to me.
That's right. Yeah. Coming back to what I had said earlier about labeling things, I think a big part of it is, and as I was, reflecting on things in preparation for today, and just this privilege that I get to share with, through to your audience here with you, and this aspect of feeling that in many ways women are taught. It's like, we're used to this whole thing about men are taught to not feel in our culture primarily, right? And some exceptions and the whole thing. But generally speaking, men are taught not to feel. And that shows up in terms of, don't cry, like, don't have your emotions, don't feel. So toughen up, don't be a sissy. So we all of these different ways where males are taught that something wrong with, shameful about feeling. Women are taught to not feel sexual. And so on one hand, the women are taught to be emotional. Well, that's women, they're emotional. That's just them, right?
Yes.
So here's women, they're emotional. Men are sexual. They're expected to feel sexual. That's just men. They're just being boys. They're just being men. That men will do what men will do, right? And so this whole idea, and yet in some ways, and I speak, I've been asked, why do you speak only of men and women? I know that there are all genders, no genders, all right? And yet in my work, somehow it has, I'm honoring my role in highlighting this duality, this dichotomy, to bring the focus into that there really is no separation. And so that's when I speak there. It's not out of ignorance. It's not out of disconnection. It's a very purposeful thing about really helping us to waken up to our true nature. So we've got women that are taught to, that this is how they feel, but don't be sexual. Emotional, but not sexual. Men, you're sexual, but don't feel. So in some ways, we're all disconnected from our bodies, from feeling what's truly there, whether it's sexual, whether it's emotional, whatever it is. And words are a way, at some point, you think about a little baby is just crying, oh, and in terms of us trying to figure out, well, why is baby crying? Oh, they're hungry. So now what they are just in pure raw feeling, we now put a label on it. And
Yes.
so then now they go through, oh, I'm feeling this. Oh, I'm hungry. And so that becomes a journey of what we do. I'm feeling frustrated. I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling happy. I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling all of these things rather than just I'm feeling. And so in my work, what I do is I teach people to let those words come. Where the somatic healing comes from is let those words come, because those are pointing us to our feelings, where they're pointing us to the sensations that are there purely to be felt.
Yes. And also just to be able to express anything, like the expression of anger and frustration, just to be able to go, ah, and to express it is a healthy version of it, other than the physical what could occur. So learn, and because some men, and it's not always men, but some men truly have a difficult expression of anger and frustration that could be used in healthy ways, as opposed to an unhealthy expression of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So what are some of the things that we could do to get in touch within our body? Because we've got this mind, and then so now what's some of the things that you use to get in connecting with our body?
Mm-hmm. Great question, Neil. Thank you for asking that. I would say in some ways one of the most common ones globally that we're aware of, and yet maybe even not necessarily aware of it, is that of breath. So there's all kinds of breath work, and just breathe. For some people, it's that sense of, okay, just breathe. It's sort of a pause, which it is. And then can we take it to that place of the awareness of the breath? So it's not just about breathing, but to feel the breath, to feel the movement of the body with each breath. And oftentimes as well, and I was just in a client session the other day, and I was saying that bring your awareness, your breath to your heart space. And oftentimes when we think of our heart, we think, here we are, here's my heart. Well, what about at the back? What about we think all the way around, that it's not just here we are, that aspect of it. So it's, okay, bring your awareness to your breath and feel your body, the body move with every breath, with every inhale and exhale. Think of it almost like a balloon. So every side, the top and the bottom. And so people all of a sudden kind of like, wow, bring your awareness down to your pelvic floor with every breath. And all of a sudden there's this heightened awareness of the body, what the body feels, how the body moves, when it moves, what's it in response to. So this type of, as we start to build this awareness to the body, and I think in some ways as well, we have this idea that no pain, no gain. So this idea of we have to push through, pushing through things, right? Whether it's I have 1 more mile to go on the bike, or I have, the dog's almost home, if I can just hang in there. There's value to that. And yet this idea that thinking I have to push through, rather than really tuning into what the body is feeling. I think back to, it was about 10, 12 years ago, I wanted to build a garden path in my backyard. And for the most part, I'm kind of sedentary. I walking is my main thing, and, up and down my stairs to my space where I live, and playing with the grandkids, all those kinds of things that are lots of fun. So before I had the grandkids, still kind of sedentary, loved working in my garden. And I said, I'm going to do a garden path. So I proceeded, my husband at the time was chipping up our concrete slabs up the front. The sidewalk slabs were broken, and so he was going to replace those. I said, I'll take them. I'll take all those broken pieces, and I repurposed them into my backyard pathway. So I thought, I'm going to get everything all nice and stable, and everything, build that foundation. So I got my shovel and my wheelbarrow and the whole thing, and I dug down into the clay and into the dirt, brought in the sand, and did it. And interestingly, I was so present with every shovelful. I was so attentive to what my body was feeling. This took me a week to build this. I did not have sore muscles at the end of any day or at the end of the week, because I just kept breathing into, being present to what I was doing. And somehow in that process, I was just in tune to it, listening. When my body said, okay, I need to take a breath, I took a breath. When I need to take a pause, I take a pause. So I was in tune to my body, to the language, the communication of the body.
Wonderful. And as the note says, their breath work is so powerful. Mm-hmm. And there's so many, there's so many modalities to it, but it's like, just breath work is powerful. Yeah. And that in itself is so calming. If you find yourself getting triggered, just take a breath. Just take a deep breath.
Yeah.
And if you still want to say something in there, take another. There you go. And another. And another till the response comes. It's not a reaction, it's a response. Yeah. And then go for it. It's a beautiful process to breathe.
I agree. I would say, Neil, as well, there's something that comes to mind as you share that, and it's that aspect of we're so used to being in our minds, right? That's sort of one of the ways that we disconnect from what we're feeling from the body. And certainly with my work for people who have dealt with sexual trauma, like sexual abuse, various things, rape, through all kinds of emotional, physical traumas, at the hands of, often family members. There's this whole piece of what they find is that what happens is there's this disassociation, that it's too much for the body to handle. So it's like, I can't think about this, so they disconnect. And the mind, it's almost like it compartmentalizes that trauma, that, like, this was supposed to be a person that I trusted. This was a person that doesn't even know me. Yes. What did I do? So all of those ways that trauma gets held in the body, and the mind says, as an expression of love, I am going to just put it into a different container for you right now. I want to help you to just sort of get through life. We're going to we're going to compartmentalize it. When a healing journey at some point starts to happen, sometimes that gets compounded and compounded and compounded multiple times, multiple years, whatever it is. And the body lovingly holds that. And often at some point, there will be a moment, a situation where the body says, okay, now it's time to deal with it. Now the healing journey gets to happen. And it comes often in a time where it might be through an illness, an accident, a job loss, where it's all of a sudden these things that we've held near and dear take us into a whole place. And I see those as gifts. I know not always is it seen that way. 2 years ago, I was in a state of recovering from major cancer surgery and going into chemo. And I saw that as a gift, like, wow, I have this opportunity to be here and feeling all of these things. What an amazing opportunity to feel the amazing thing of being cared for by people, my family at a distance, my husband who was able to be there because we were locked in with COVID, and all of those things. And to feel that, wow, what's it feel like to be nauseous when it's, when all this pain, so to feel all of those things that we don't always have the opportunity to feel, the emotions. So the gifts that come to us in their own perfect time and way, maybe have seemed like a curse at one point, but when we have the shift in perspective, we see them as they didn't become a blessing, They were a blessing and a gift the whole time until we were able to see and receive it as such.
Beautiful, thank you. Because yeah, I am a firm believer that life happens for me, not to me. Like I was in a bike accident, and yeah, I was in an accident, and yeah, yada yada, story, blame shift, all this. But it's a beautiful experience. Like the very first time I picked up a pair of pliers and squeezed a pair of pliers, I went, holy crap, I finally understood how intertwined all my tendons were, because I could not squeeze. And I'm like, but then I was just playing with my hand and just going, squeezing and realizing how I could feel all the tendons in there. And I was just like, well, that slowed me down, because I just would go and grab the wire cutters that I was using, and cut the piece off, but I couldn't do it. So I'm like, cool.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think it's this beautiful journey of really connecting, that the mind-body connection, in that sense that the mind, we say that the mind can't heal, doesn't heal, or people say that the mind does heal. It's sort of mind over matter. And in my perspective, it's that when we can allow the mind to play the role of bringing us to our bodies, that's when the healing can happen. That's when the profound healing can happen. And Jack Morin, he's a psychologist, psychiatrist, and he's one who often would refer, prior to his passing, he would refer people to sexological body workers, so that we as somatic sex educators, because he found that people who are working through and really trying to connect to their sexuality, work through trauma, could get done as much in 1 or 2 somatic body work sessions as even 20 talk sessions. And so really, really profound. I have one colleague who contacted me today, actually, and she said, do you do somatic healing, somatic energy healing, and can you do it only in person, or can you do it online energetically? And I said, yeah, certainly energetically and online. And I think of one of my clients who lives in Spain. I've not yet had the privilege of meeting her in person. And we've worked together over this last year as she is working, as she is stepping into claiming her power, her body, her sexuality, after having been sexually abused by her stepfather for 14 years. And she sent a message. She said, for the first time, she and her husband went on a thing, and she said, Lorna, she said, I'm feeling these amazing feelings in my feet that I haven't felt before. And I'm feeling to an extent in my life that I have not felt in these first 50 years. She said, I'm feeling things. So this healing that's happening, because as we were working, I'm saying, all right, there's peace here. I invite you to put your hand here, or put your hand where you feel it to be put, and to connect somatically with our awareness, so that healing can happen. And it's really been profound. So
Beautiful. This is me thinking out of the box. If the pharmaceutical companies would just figure out, they would only need one injection, the injection so that people could come back to true love for themselves. So many illnesses, so many things. If it was just like, boink, and you're back to true love of yourself, and then you're able to get to true love to another, how amazing would that be? Like, I, as a coach, at some level, am always, not always, but a great deal of time, am working with people just to learn to love themselves again, and so that they can have the courage to take the steps. And as you're working with far more intimate details with a person, as a sexologist worker, you're having to bring them through to learn to love themselves at an entire level that traumas and societal, oh, you can't do that. Oh, yeah. And are you worthy? It's all of these pieces. It's like, thank you for doing that work.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mm.
It's totally an honor. And for me, it becomes this aspect of, like I said about, from a baby, here's the cup, here's that. We are taught to look outside of ourselves, in terms of there's always going to be somebody outside of us that is the authority, whether it's a teacher, a parent, somebody who's gone to school longer, that has the titles behind their names. We're taught to look outside of ourselves for a partner, to complete us, right? And so people go through life looking for, seeking, that, if originally, so this idea of if I'm female, I'm needing to look for a male to do that. And that there's this beautiful shift that's happening, right, globally, of no, stop looking outside of ourselves for the other, come back home, and as you say, Neil, to be able to really come back home to not only loving ourselves, but knowing that that which we see outside of ourselves is reflection of what's within us, our wholeness within. And so this whole thing about somatic thing, it's an opportunity for us, if you will, to come back into not only our beingness in the humanness, but that life force that is us. Audre Lorde, for years I have used her quote. It says, we tend to think of the erotic, you think of people reading erotica and, that type of a thing. And, I need to get turned on. So I'm going to, pull out the erotic reading and stuff. She says, we tend to think of the erotic as an easy, tantalizing sexual arousal. She says, I speak of the erotic as the deepest life force, a force which moves us toward living in a fundamental way. And so as we come back into the body, we're connecting into that life force energy, not that we are, but that is us. That this body is the instrument that life force is moving and living through and as. And 𝗁cie𝗂𝗿, another one of my teachers, mentors, talks about, I'm just drawing a blank now. I'm going to paraphrase it. This idea that as we become aware of what's happening in the body, we awaken not only to the life that is all around us, but to the realization that we are life itself. So this whole aspect of coming back to the body, it's about the healing and to knowing, and I use the word healing based on Tom Harper, who was one of the speakers here from Toronto years ago. And in his book, The Uncommon Touch, he refers to healing as not that we are broken and need to be healed, but healing is the acknowledgement that we are whole already. And so in my role as a healer, I get to mirror people's wholeness to them in places where it seems like they're broken or lacking or missing or all of that. So can I mirror to them? Let's clear those pieces that are keeping you from seeing a clear reflection and experience of who you are.
Beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, because and that's a wonderful example of healing, is just remembering that we're whole and complete, and allowing the pieces that are not allowing us to be whole and complete to fall away, and bringing in and holding on to those things that are supportive, that uplift us and truly bring aliveness into our life. It's like, there's people. Anybody here have double salted Dutch licorice? It is one of those things that you either hate it or love it. And life is like that. It's like there are some things that whatever invigorates you,
Yeah.
then pull more into your life.
Mhm.
If it's double salted licorice for you, then don't bring it into your life.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Exactly. And I talk about it of living erotically alive from the inside out. And so it's not about, well, so and so does it that way, therefore I should, or I've been taught this way, or it seems to be working for them. It's kind of, yeah, take note, and then, does that feel true to me? Does that something I want to explore? But it's about taking off the shrouds of shame, and it's about all the shoulds and shouldn'ts and can'ts. It's just falling away. It's just kind of what's here within, what's ready to be explored or enjoyed or expressed from within. So there's the instrument of the body, and as we tune into it, just really tuning into it to what's there and alive. And sometimes, and even myself, I get sessions to support me. Maybe there's something that my perspective needs to be shifted, or look at something from a different perspective, so I can, okay, there it is. That allows me to listen in and feel and feel and feel more deeply.
And feeling is such a beautiful thing, because the tactile sense, typically men are not a tactile creature. We're not typically and stereotypically, I put a shirt on and I just go and run out the door.
Yeah.
But a shirt of the different senses can be a very tactile and bring beauty or sensations into your life.
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
Years ago, I took a program called Sex, Passion, and Enlightenment, and it was eye-opening how, as the divine feminine is dressing, that the clothes become part of the sensation of the clothes, become part of the essence of who they were. And I'm just thinking, this was like 20 years ago, I'm just thinking, it's a shirt. Just put it on and let's go. Wrong, Neil, wrong.
Yeah.
So it was like, I was, in my impatience, I was robbing my wife of that sensation and freedom of the senses of what the textiles could do for her, or the lack of textiles.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. One of the things that it's a really simple thing, and it can be woven very easily into day-to-day life, is even, and using, springboarding off of your example of the clothing, is I talk about it as functional touch and feeling touch. So that whole idea of whether it's, the shirt coming off or the shirt coming on is, like you say, you put it on and off you go, right? So in this case, like, just put it on as slowly as you can and pay attention to what you're feeling. And all of a sudden it's kind of like, oh. It's kind of like, wow, a whole different experience. And taking it off. And so, and I think that this really fits into this whole aspect as well of sexuality and, intimacy and between people. This whole idea that when people are tuned into their own bodies, when that breath that happens, from the ocean breeze, or, the drops of water, when we're alive to those and connected to those senses, then all of a sudden our whole senses are already awakened. And then it comes in with, say, a lover, or our own personal erotic practice, our own time of connecting with ourselves, is all of a sudden it becomes like the senses are already awakened. We don't have to necessarily wake up the body is already awakened through our day-to-day interaction to what's happening around us. And it can be a 24-hour time of foreplay, if you will. It's kind of like instead of before, but it's foreplay. Life is for play. Life is for feeling the senses, being alive in this body. And I say, one of the quotes that I use that's come from this mouth is just, the gift of being human is to feel. So it's with feeling the breathe, feeling the body moving, feeling those, and those tastes, those crunches, all of those things that we do through the senses that we have is, here's this finely incredible instrument. So to really start to use those senses to feel our aliveness in this human experience.
Hallelujah. Absolutely. Yes, yes, yes. And all I can say is slow the puck down. Everyone, slow life down. Get off the treadmill. Get off the hamster wheel. It doesn't take hours to slowly put a shirt on. It doesn't take. It does add to the day, like the length of time it takes to get dressed and that, but it's not like it's going to add 7 hours.
That's right.
Yeah. That's and when you slow down, enjoy your meal.
That's right. That's right.
And for the men that are watching on this, as Lorna said, foreplay started yesterday, and in what you're doing. And it's when you're slowing down and you're interacting with your partner. And yes, there's times for quickies, but foreplay is meant to be a slow dance.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
We're not playing ice hockey. We're not out on the rugby pitch. It's meant to be a slow, intimate affair.
Exactly. And then that so beautifully applies what you said as well, Neil. It so beautifully applies. Thank you. To when people, if they don't have a partner. So there's this idea that, well, I don't have a partner. So how can I? Why would I be intimate with myself? It's or this idea of, well, I don't need to have my own personal erotic practice because I have always a partner who's available. Just kind of, and we miss out on connecting to our own bodies, to our own sensuality, to our own erotic nature, which then we can bring forth into the world, whether it's to an intimate relationship, to our whole body, alive, present sense, to our interactions in our work, with our families, with the neighbor down the street, with our animals, with nature. And so as we connect to our own self, we are coming into that wholeness as well. And being there, taking that time to feel, of just things. I said in the quote that I wanted to be able to provide a different thing, some somatic practices that people can use that we'll do here. So one of the ones, is this a good time to do that?
It's always a good time.
All right. And I'm going to do something again that's just as simple as can be, that you can do it wherever you are. I'm sure probably a lot of people, clasp their hands this way, right? So the invitation is to whether, I'm going to hold it up here just so that so you can see wherever you have your hands. And again, I put it out an invitation. There's no shoulds, there's no have to's, no expectations. The invitation is find out if this is something that you would like to do. This is a part of consent, right? So, and so now doing that, and as you put your hands here, before just going into this quick, I'm going to do it pretty quickly, right? Before doing that, just put it here and feel the warmth or the coolness of your hand. Feel the texture. And then now, ever so slowly, just let the fingers glide between one another. And feel the sensation. And then I notice that as I'm going slow and I get to my knuckles, it kind of, there's a little bit, it doesn't want to move as easily. So I just notice that. Feel the texture, feel the size, the shape, the different contours. And being there, nothing is forced. How do we do this dance together? And this, one of the gifts of somatic is being aware of the body. And so as I do that right now, my body just says, I just kind of want to hang out right there. I don't want to have to go into a full locked position. I want to be able to be in this soft clasp. And then just from that place, just some stroking. It's one of the ways that I teach my people that they can do their own self-pleasuring, their own personal erotic practice, their PEP, on a day-to-day basis, even when they're in public, is just find some strokes that feel lovely to them. Maybe they're sitting at the theater, maybe they're at the red light, maybe they're at the table dining with family and friends. And they're basically in this moment of just deepening in and connecting to their bodies in this sensual, erotic way. So
Wonderful.
taking those moments, and that's the invitation, is so those moments to do that and just to connect in with the body.
Wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
One of the last retreats, in-person retreats that we did as a mixed, we did as my wife and I did as a co-facilitators, we had, I don't know, 20, 40 people at this, and we invited them, if they were comfortable with it, to hold hands. And this started Friday night. We invited them to hold hands with permission. It was always with permission. And we gave them a little, they could say no at any time and just drop the hand. By Sunday, because the human connection was so intense that they did not want to let each other's hands go.
Nice.
And I have friends that it's okay to hold their hand, of course, with permission. You ask them. I think friends should be able to, I think we should be more European. A kiss on the cheek is great.
Yeah. Very much so. Very much so.
And I love this quote, you're worth it. So please, please, please take the time. You're so worthy to enjoy. And that could be a bubble bath. That could be take your time eating a dessert. Just revel in the moment. Let your taste buds run wild. Just don't rah. Put your favorite music on. It's like whatever.
Yeah.
It trigger all your senses.
It's true. It's true. I'm going to. I'd like to invite those who would like to is just do another somatic practice that I spoke of earlier. Is that of the breathing, and some of you maybe did that while I was mentioning it. But just to take a moment, and sometimes eyes closed allows us to shut off that one sense. This sense of sight.
If you're listening to this while you're driving, please don't close your eyes.
There you go. Perfect. There you go.
Pull over to the side of the road where it's safe and then continue on.
There you go. And so just taking some slow, long breaths. And with that, start to notice the movement of the body. Noticing the small of the back, taking the breath to and from the small of the back. Taking your attention to the perineum, that space between the scrotum and the anus for men, and the vulva and the anus for women, or male bodies, female bodies. Just taking your breath from there. So again, for some people, this might be, wow, this is pretty intimate and personal. Yeah, this is where you get an opportunity to connect with yourself in a way that is pure, holy, wholeness, here, pure, beautiful. And what's one of the gifts of the somatic work is that as we start to connect with the body, that sometimes it's those old stories, those old beliefs, those things we've been taught, things we've caught along the way, start to rise to the surface. And I call them like they're dried blueberries. Like when you have a bowl of blueberries and you slowly pour water into there, that movement allows the blueberries to start to move around freely, and pretty soon the dried blueberries start to flow over the top with the water movement. And so too, your awareness of these various areas will start to bring up old stories, old beliefs, old traumas that maybe need nothing other than your breath's awareness in that moment to wash away. And now bringing your awareness down to your baby toes. These toes that play such an intricate role in the balance as we walk. And now bringing your awareness and breathing to and from your throat, this area of expression. And then when you're ready, taking a few long, slow breaths. And when you're ready, opening your eyes.
Thank you. And this is a beautiful segue. If what Lorna has shared with us today, if you would like to go and take this deeper, this is Lorna's calendar, so that you can book a discovery session, which I think are 15 or 30 minutes long.
30 minutes.
Find out whether you're a beautiful match for her energies and you're a match for her, and it's just to discover how she may support you. And so please, if Lorna's work calls to you, take the chance. Just there's no risk. Just go and learn. Treat yourself to a discovery session.
Thank you.
Would you like to add anything else?
I think what's coming, and without any pre-planning, is just that this moment is perfect, and that as we come into that, that's the gift of the body. Is the body brings us into this moment, and allowing that whatever is here in this moment is perfectly showing up, perfectly here, being experienced. And it's often those thoughts that say it should be something different, or something's wrong with what is. And this gift I get to experience in sharing with people is to support them in honoring the words and the role that they have played, and now coming back home into the wholeness of who they are.
So would you like to talk a little bit about reclaiming Eden?
Thank you. So this is currently I have this Facebook group. It's for women, and I'm opening up a community as well that is for women, men, people of all genders and sexual orientations, in which I will really look at the role that the duality of female and male has played, the duality of human and spirit, sacred and sex, looking at how those have all been separated and somehow they're wrong, and bringing them back home into the oneness that is here, and seeing and to support people in living into from that place, and so this is what's here is just really coming back to the true essence of who we are. And the true you living erotically alive, that deepest life force. And so this is for people who choose to tap into my they can contact me by my email address, Lorna@𝗪𝗏𝗪𝗏.com. For people who are on Facebook, it's the Facebook and then / I am reclaiming Eden for women. And for men who are wanting to contact me, there's my Erotically Alive on Facebook, my private page there that you can message me, or my email. And as Neil said, if you feel that tug within, to trust that's the body saying it's time. There's something that's ready to to have your awareness and a shift for you in bringing you into that journey of wholeness, sexual wholeness, spiritual wholeness, into the wholeness of who you are. And Sarah, thank you for this gift of bringing our awareness to and highlighting the somatic approach, and knowing that that's how we learn sex. We come from sex from a somatic body experience, and to be able to learn through a learned experience, and listening to the body's wisdom, the body's joy, the body's desires, all of those things. That's the somatic way of living, rather than here letting this bring us back into our bodies, and from there living wholly and alive.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm in the midst of writing 3 books, but aside from that, I want to go and take people. I'm seriously putting some energy and effort into creating a retreat in Playa del Carmen in Mexico for a week. Going to bring in a chef. We're going to stay in a 5-star, the equivalent of a mansion. We're going to stay in a mansion. We're going to have a chef. We're going to have community time to flesh out your books. You're going to have time to write. You're going to have time to explore on your own, and we're have time to critique and work as your book, so that you actually get and write this crazy creation of your book. Oh my, I'd love to have you. You can connect with me at neilthrussell.com, and I want you there.
Awesome.
Yeah. And the last piece, Sarah ran 2 incredible retreats, workshops, but I didn't have a chance to find out whether she was going to run them again. So if she does, I can quickly move them forward. But Sarah runs this incredible 9-week holistic coaching program, and I love it, because she brings her talents and gifts and treasures into getting you to express yourself in ways that, as a man, I didn't think it was possible. And that she has that they're fun, they're intuitive, they're beautiful too. Like, I love her daily her weather reports. I'm not going to give any of that away. So Sarah you just connect with Sarah directly, because she will do a far better explanation of what her program. She has a free program and she has a paid program. And I'm going to tell you right off the bat, just sign up for both of them. Just do both of them, and you will do it. You will thoroughly enjoy spending time with Sarah. And the sad, crazy, terrible part is that we're out of time. Oh, there. She's got a wait list. That's how good it is. And yes, just go. That's all I can say. Just do it. She's incredible. It's good for her throat today that she hasn't had to talk through it all, but that's okay. So it's just Lorna and I to end today. So I want to thank every single one of you that is watching this, that is listening to this, and will listen to this. Know that you are worthy of all your hopes, your dreams. You are worthy of living a passionate, sexually vibrant life. That your life is just a continuous orgasm of experiences, and life is meant to be enjoyed, and you are loved. Lorna, would you like to add anything?
I think that's perfect. Let's just leave it there. And thank you for this beautiful space. And that's beautiful. Yeah, just this. It's perfect. Thank you.
Okay, and with that, know that you're loved, and we will talk to you later.
All right.